Eddie Van Halen wasn't just a guitarist, he was a game changer. His lightning-fast riffs and mind-blowing solos didn't just impress people, they revolutionized rock music. With his band Van Halen, he turned stadiums into roaring oceans of fans, creating a sound that no one had ever heard before. But behind the fame, the fortune, and the millions of records sold, there was a man with struggles, secrets, and a story few truly know. What drove him to greatness? And what battles did he fight behind closed doors? Before we dive into this video, please subscribe our channel. Eddie Van Halen's journey from a young immigrant to a rock music icon is nothing short of legendary. Born in Amsterdam in 1955, Eddie moved to Pasadena, California, with his family in 1962, searching for a better life. His father was a musician, and both Eddie and his brother Alex Van Halen were trained in classical piano. But Eddie wasn't interested in reading sheet music, he relied entirely on his sharp ear. His true passion ignited when he switched from piano to guitar. He practiced for hours, obsessively perfecting his distinctive sound. By the early 1970s, he and Alex formed a band called Mammoth, later renaming it Van Halen in 1974. Performing at clubs like the Whiskey A Go-Go, their explosive live shows caught the attention of Warner Brothers Records, leading to a record deal in 1977. A year later, their debut album, Van Halen, 1978, changed rock music forever, featuring Eddie's legendary two-handed tapping technique. This wasn't just a band, it was the birth of a new era in rock. By the late 1970s, Van Halen was more than just a band. They were a rock powerhouse. Their debut album, Van Halen, 1978, sold over 10 million copies, making it one of the most successful debuts in history. But this was just the beginning. In 1984, Van Halen released their biggest album yet, 1984. With hits like Jump, Panama, and Hot for Teacher, the album became a global phenomenon, selling 10 million copies in the US alone. Jump even became their first and only number one hit on the Billboard Hot 100. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, the band continued their dominance, releasing chart-topping albums like 5150, 1986, OU 812, 1988, and Balance, 1995. 4 of their albums hit number one on the Billboard 200. By 2019, Van Halen had sold over 56 million albums in the US and 880 million worldwide, ranking them among the biggest rock bands in history. Eddie wasn't just a guitarist, he was a revolutionary force in music. With fame and fortune came a life most could only dream of. Eddie Van Halen amassed a $100 million fortune, allowing him to own some of the most luxurious properties in Los Angeles. One of his most famous homes was a Cape Cod-style mansion in Beverly Hills, which he later sold for $1.5 million. But his true sanctuary was the 5150 estate, where he built a private recording studio, the birthplace of every Van Halen album from 1984 onward. Yet among his properties, one stands out: a mysterious abandoned house in Santa Monica. Though linked to Eddie, he was never seen there, leaving fans puzzled. Was it a forgotten investment, a secret retreat, or something else entirely? Beyond homes, Eddie had a serious passion for cars, owning an insane collection of muscle cars, sports cars, and high-performance exotics. His love for speed extended beyond the stage, proving that Eddie Van Halen didn't just live life, he lived it fast. Eddie Van Halen's love for speed wasn't limited to his guitar solos. Offstage, he was a dedicated car enthusiast with a collection that reflected his personality: powerful, unique, and full of character. He had a deep passion for classic American muscle cars, particularly his 1956 Chevrolet 210 Pro Street, which he had heavily modified for speed. His collection also included a 1956 Chevrolet Nomad, a beautifully restored station wagon with a powerful modern engine, blending vintage charm with high performance. But Eddie didn't just stick to American classics. His 1971 Lamborghini Miura S was a statement of elegance and raw power, one of the most iconic supercars of its time. Among his prized possessions was a custom-built roof Porsche 911 Turbo, a German-engineered masterpiece with up to 600 horsepower, designed for extreme performance. He also owned a Chevrolet C1500 Silverado, known as the Van Holler, which he used for transporting gear and cars. For Eddie, cars weren't just vehicles. They were an extension of his personality, his need for speed, and his relentless pursuit of excellence. Despite his success, Eddie Van Halen faced personal demons that haunted him throughout his life. His battle with alcohol and drug addiction began early in his career. He often drank and used substances to cope with the pressures of fame, believing it fueled his creativity. However, these habits took a toll on his health and relationships, leading to turbulent years within the band and in his personal life. In 2000, Eddie was diagnosed with throat cancer, a battle he fought for years while continuing to make music. He believed that years of holding metal guitar picks in his mouth contributed to his illness, though doctors pointed to other factors like smoking and drinking. Despite undergoing surgeries and treatments, he never fully recovered. Eddie's struggles weren't just physical. His marriage to actress Valerie Bertinelli ended in divorce in 2007, further adding to his emotional challenges. While he made efforts to get sober in his later years, his health continued to decline. Behind the electrifying performances and stadium anthems was a man fighting battles few truly understood. Eddie Van Halen's health struggles worsened in the final years of his life. After battling throat cancer for 2 decades, the disease spread to his lungs and brain, leading to a rapid decline. Despite multiple treatments and hospital visits, his condition became critical by early 2020. In his last months, Eddie was surrounded by his closest family members, including his son, Wolfgang Van Halen, his wife, Johnny Lasowski, and his ex-wife, Valerie Bertinelli. His son later shared that Eddie fought with incredible strength, refusing to let his illness define him. On October 6, 2020, Eddie Van Halen passed away at the age of 65 in a hospital in Santa Monica. His death marked the end of an era, leaving the rock world in mourning. Fans, musicians, and industry legends paid tribute to his legacy, acknowledging his impact on music and guitar playing. Though he was gone, his influence remained immortal, as his music continued to inspire generations of artists and fans around the world. Eddie Van Halen wasn't just a guitarist, he was a revolutionary force in music. His two-handed tapping technique, electrifying solos, and signature sound changed the way rock guitar was played. Even after his passing, his influence remains stronger than ever. Van Halen's music continues to inspire new generations of musicians, proving that great artistry never fades. The band's albums, from their 1978 debut to their later works, still dominate rock playlists. In 2007, Van Halen was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, cementing their place in history. Beyond his music, Eddie's impact extended to guitar design and innovation. His custom Frankenstrat guitar became legendary, influencing instrument makers and aspiring guitarists worldwide. Today, countless artists credit Eddie as their inspiration, and his legacy continues through his son, Wolfgang Van Halen, who carries forward his father's musical spirit. Though Eddie is gone, his music, techniques, and innovations ensure that his name will never be forgotten. He didn't just play the guitar, he transformed it forever.